Are you guys there? Are you guys ready to read a story? Well, I guess not read. Are you ready to hear a story? I'm so excited about the story I have for you today. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's kind of long, so we may spend a little more time together than usual, but I think it'll be fine. Do you guys have your yammies on? Your jams and a pillow? Let's get ready. Let's get ready. Are you guys ready? Are you comfy? Are you cozy? Let's see. Can you see okay? All right. Let's get started. Today we're going to read a book called The Girl Who Spun Gold. It kind of reminds me of another fairy tale from a long time ago. I forget the name, but it was also about a girl who spun gold. This book is by Virginia Hamilton and is illustrated by Leo and Diane Dillon. The Girl Who Spun Gold. I'm going to just pull this a little closer. I don't feel like it. There we go. Much better. One second, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties here. There we go. Okay, I think that'll work. The Girl Who Spun Gold. Let's see what this is about. Some long pages. Wonder, do they have some pretty pictures? Ooh, look at this picture. Can you see it? Okay, let's go. There be this tale told about a tiny fellow who could hide in the foot of shade amid old trees. All that most could see of him was the way that he sparkled. Some say he wore a pointy hat. He had one true leg. The other leg stood straight out, stiff, and was made of wood. He had a long tail. He could fly through the air, it's true. He had magic. And when the shade danced with flecks of gold, it was the little fellow himself, Litman, going about his mischief. Anybody and everybody old, like the trees, knew how he could appear and disappear, and they knew enough to stay out of his shade. Does he look kind of scary? I hope this isn't a scary book. Let's see. One day, young Big King came riding amidst the trees, and just then Litman was hiding in the shade watching a lovely girl spinning plain thread. She and her mama were laughing and talking loud when Big King turned his horses and stopped before them. Says he, "Here, what's all this noise in my kingdom?" Well, the mama, thinking fast, says, "Oh, great Big King, my daughter is spinning a whole field of finest golden thread to make cloth for His Highness. And we're so happy, we are rejoicing about it, don't you know?" "Well, if that's true," said the king, "I will have to marry your daughter, who is very beautiful, and she will be my queen." Sheba was the daughter's name. She was upset at her mama's terrible fib, for she spun only the plainest thread, and how would she weave a whole field of cloth? Shyly, though, Sheba looked up from her spinning wheel to smile on the handsome king, and he smiled back. Soon a wedding day was arranged for them. Oh, it came quickly. There was cake and all so good food, baking bread, roasted goat, and chickens cooking. For a while, the mama forgot what she had said about the golden thread. She was so very happy for her daughter. And the whole kingdom was decked with flowers, and all turned out for a splendid wedding day. The two got married, they did. Everybody called out their names. Big King, Queen Sheba! It was as if the sound of fresh wind rolled out of the hills and washed over the land. Big King, Queen Sheba, hooray, hooray! Well, Big King had to become even bigger than he needed to be. Being young, he went too far. He told Sheba, he said, "You can have everything," spreading his arms wide. "You can have fine robes and gowns and friends to call upon you, but after the year ends and one day more, you will start spinning golden thread. You hear me? You must start weaving me 3 whole rooms of golden things." The king left her there with her mother. "Oh no," cried the mama. "You hear that, Queenie? You hear that? I'm so sorry for what I said. Oh, I'm so afraid for you." "Never you mind, Mama," Queenie Sheba said. "Never you sorrow, my dearie dear. You will see. Big King man will forget about it. The golden stuff he wants me to spin will be such a long time coming, he'll forget about it." All was best and good for a year and one day. Queen Sheba had footmen and headmen. She had pie makers and cake bakers. She made her handmaids spin the threads, and all bad was forgotten until one day Big King came and took her to a room as large as a playing field. "Better have this room spun full of golden thread and cloth and things by dawn," he said. "Else you'll stay cooped up in here forever and a year." He padlocked the iron door against her. Tears ran down Sheba's face. She was so sad and afraid, trembling all over, for she only knew how to spin plain thread. But oh, shh! Hearing a noise, she peered around, and there, a tiny man came floating. He was all over ugly for true. He grinned at Sheba. He bowed grandly to her, standing on the air, and tipped the tail and the green hat he wore. It was Litman himself, the tiny shade fellow. His wooden leg never bended. He wore striped trousers, and he had a long tail that swung this way and that way. Poor Sheba was more frightened than ever. Litman spoke. "Girl, what's the matter with you?" said kindly enough. So Queen Sheba quieted her fear and told him her own true name and all the good and all the bad that had happened to her. "I'll help you with making golden things," he said, "but you must guess my whole name." "And if I cannot guess it?" Queen Sheba asked. "You have 3 nights to try and 3 chances each night. And if you can't guess my name by the final night and the last chance, then I will make you tiny, just like me. I will carry you off to live in my shade." Queen Sheba couldn't stand to be near the little fellow, but sweetly she said, Oh, I thank you kindly. I will be naming you within the 3 nights and with the chances that you've given me. Good, cried Litman. He began singing and twirling his tail and flying around and around the room, big as a field. Sheba got so sleepy with all his sashaying up and down that she yawned twice and fell to slumber. By and by she awoke. It was dark with the moonlight creeping through her windows. Litman was right there, bowing and grinning. The room, as big as a field, soon shone full of golden thread and cloth and things to the ceiling. And Litman spoke then softly, Queenie Sheba, what's my name? And Litman spoke then again, Queenie Sheba, what's my name? Wide-eyed Sheba thought hard. Your name must be Septimus, she said at last. No! Shouted he. Then your name must be Obadiah. No! Litman laughed the hat off his head, but he put it back on. Queen Sheba thought about it and thought about it. Jemima, she shouted. Litman hollered loud, no! Oh, no, no, no! He doubled over laughing. He leaped up and flew out of there. Dawn light and Big King came and unlocked Sheba's room. There was all the gold cloth, bright as the sun. Big King was so happy he kissed Sheba's hand. Later, he led her into another room. Fill this room with gold, he commanded. And he padlocked her in and left her there, all alone. Queen Sheba stood feeling bad. And there came the little man through the open window. He brought her food and water, and while she tried to eat it, he flew easily as a feather, floating. Bowing, he grinned and twirled. It made Sheba so dizzy she pushed the food away. Poor child, she fell asleep in her chair just before the night came down. Later, it was when she came wide awake at some sound. Litman was there, showing his toothy grin. The room was filled clear up and clear down and all around with gold thread and cloth and things. There were gold mirrors, and they showed Litman made of winking gold flecks. Good evening, my queenie. Now, what is my name? Litman asked her. Sheba said right back, your name is Nicholas. He said, no. Then it must be Nehemiah. Your name is Nehemiah. And he said again, no, 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 no. Sounded like sighing. Sheba frowned and said, Nebuchadnezzar. No! The little fellow laughed and laughed and laughed and rose up and flew away. Big King came and saw the second room full of golden stuff. He was so happy. He asked his poor wife to have supper with him. The servants brought a feast of hog and apples with plantains and fish and coconuts and red beans and rice. Queen Sheba was so happy to be out of that room. Big King looked happy too. He was so proud of her, he said, so smart are you to know how to spin golden threads. They ate and laughed and talked. He told her about something he'd seen. I'm out hunting wild hogs this day, he said. In the woods I am, and I come upon a big hole in the ground at the foot of a tree. And down in this hole there stands a funny little man with a wooden leg and striped trousers and wearing a tall green hat. He has a tail and he's dancing on his best leg and singing a song. I sat very still to listen. My name be lit man, oh, lit man be me. Sheba's eyes opened wide. Her mouth formed an O in surprise. The king had to laugh. Well, he was a funny fellow. He had more to sing about, and he did. What? Sheba asked breathlessly. This lit man, he spoke on about himself, said Big King. This lit man, he said, my name be lit man. I am not tall, but I am quite short, sang he. Dear mother said to me, you are the magic one, my forever favorite lit man, Bit-Ton. Lit man Bit-Ton, whispered the queen. Oh, Lord! Comical little fellow he was for true, said the king. After they had eaten, Big King told her, last time, Sheba, just one more room full of gold. Please now, good night, he said, and he padlocked her in the room. But Sheba wouldn't say a word. Angry she was at the king for treating her so. Angry also at the creature of magic, lit man Bit-Ton. For in the room, soon as the door was locked, lit man flew through the open window to her side. He grinned. He bowed and said, this be your last chance, my queenie. You better get my name right, or I'm going to make you a itty-bitty Sheba, tinier than me. He danced around her, and he sang and twirled his tail, and Queen Sheba fell fast asleep on the floor. She woke up soon. Oh, yes, of course, the room was full to bursting with golden stuff. Litman was right there, sitting on top of the high gold pile. Spoke he, Queenie Sheba, guess you well this time. You only have 3 chances. If you don't know my name, you will be forever shaded and ever so small. His tail whirled around and round so fast, Sheba lost sight of it. And she said, your name is Squash him up. No! And the tail whizzing through the air. 2 more guesses. 2 more guesses. Your name must be... No, must be... Tear down the door. No, it's not. You better think good this one last time, Litman said. And so Sheba thought good and strong. She put hands to hips and reared back. She told him, your name is Litman Bit-Ton. Yes, that's the name your mother gave you, you ugly, silly, tiny thing. Ah, see. Litman gave out a screech so loud and it turned the moon around. The hat jumped off his head. His ears fell off. Pop, pop! He goes in a million itty-bitty little flecks of gold that flowed into the night and disappeared. Real loud noise was Litman Bit-Ton going. He sounded like hot grease in a wet skillet as all of him vanished into the dark. There was left a scent of burning feathers, and that was all. Queen Sheba would not talk to Big King for 3 long years and 3 long fields full of him saying, forgive me, my Queen Sheba. I was so greedy to ask for golden things. I have buried every padlock in our kingdom. And that's the story told. They say Queen Sheba finally forgave Big King, and they lived fairly happily ever after. But never again did anyone old like the trees see sparkly Litman Bit-Ton in the shade. Some elders say he comes near, still dancing and floating above our heads. And what is that? Don't you know each time they say it when his tale is told? The end. That was kind of a creepy book. I was scared a little bit. Were you guys scared a little bit? I was a little worried for Queen Sheba. I didn't think she would ever figure out his name. Oh, but I'm so glad she did. Could you imagine if he would have turned her so itty bitty and tiny like him? That would have been scary. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Thank you for listening to The Girl Who Spun Gold. Now it's time for bed. Good night. Good night, you guys. Have sweet dreams, okay? Good night, Aiden. And good night, Amari. Good night, Justin. Good night, Israel and Hunter. Good night, Malia. Good night, Nico. Good night. Good night, Danny. Have sweet dreams. Oh, good night, Xavier and Makai. Good night, Zanai. And good night, Brooklyn. Good night, Maya. Good night, Gianni. Good night, Stevie. Oh, good night, Emma and Morgan and Kennedy. Good night, Navia. Good night, Justina. Oh, good night, Brandon. And good night, Jason. Good night, you guys. Have sweet dreams, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.